Hey, everybody. I am super excited because this next few weeks, you are in for a treat. At the Southeast Collision Conference held in South Carolina, they had amazing speakers talking about such great topics, so much learning, so much information. And I am actually had the opportunity to interview each of those speakers. And so you're going to hear those interviews every day for the course of the next 3 weeks. So each day we're bringing to you one of the who's who in our industry, really. And we're also going to hear from some vendors, things like that. So amazing information, so useful. But today's podcast is my interview with the one, the only Mike Anderson. If you don't know who he is, then I really don't believe that you are part of the auto collision world. And if you don't know him, then let me welcome you to him. He is just filled with so much knowledge, such a great human being. He talks about a myriad of topics on today's podcast, one of them using technology to give your employees some time back. Aren't we all strapped for time? Voice activated search. We know voice activation is huge these days. So if you search with Siri for a body shop in your area, who's the one that comes up? Really great things to think about. Plus, of course, so much more because Mike is just so good. You're going to love this one. We're kicking it off with Mike. Stay tuned every day. Make sure you subscribe because each episode for the next few weeks is going to be a knock your socks off kind of situation. So if you subscribe, then it'll notify you and you can know when a new one drops. So let's get rolling to chat with good old Mike Anderson.
Welcome to Body Bangin', your podcast for all things body. Auto body, that is. And now, introducing Body Bangin's host, Mickey Woods of Mickey Woods Marketing. Mickey is a former auto collision center owner and is now a marketing and business development expert to shops across the globe.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of the Body Bangin' Podcast. I am excited to have today on the show the Mike Anderson, who we are talking to coming from the Southeast Collision Conference out in South Carolina. So, Mike, I'm super excited to have you on today. Thank you so much for coming on.
It's an honor. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So Mike already spoke this morning to a large group of people that are there and talked about a lot of different, very important topics. And I wish I could have been there to hear the whole thing. So I'm sorry I missed it.
We're here to hear it, so.
So of all the topics you did talk about, do you have one or two that you felt like you were really excited to talk to people about today?
I'm sure. Mickey, first of all, thank you for having me. And thank you to the Southeast Collision Conference for having me. Just a shout out to Josh Kent and, all the people that are supporting him and allow me this privilege of being here.
Yeah.
So, every year, as somebody that goes on the road and speaks, I try to pick a theme every year, right? And so like 2 years ago, my theme was based off of the great Wayne Gretzky, right? How did Wayne Gretzky become a great hockey player? He said he didn't skate to where the puck was. He skated to where the puck was going to be. So 2 years ago, I felt like my passion was to help shops understand where the puck was going to be at the collision repair industry. My theme for this year is grow your team to grow your business and change the way you compete. So I'll say that again, grow your team to grow your business and change the way you compete. In the past, everybody kind of really struggled to get work, right? It was always like marketing. I got to get work. Well, today, everybody's busy. They have anywhere from a 2 week to 2 or 3 month backlog.
Yeah.
And so really, I believe the shops that will, not just, thrive, but actually dominate our industry are the shops that can grow their team. Now, grow your team can be, taking your existing staff and helping them to better their skills and learn more. Grow your team could be hiring new people and adding to your team. But I really believe that really what every shop should be trying to do right now is to grow their team because of everybody has work. So if you can grow your team, help your individuals get better at what they do, then I think that will give them a competitive advantage to, again, not just compete, but dominate. In addition to that, I think the other thing is that, when we talk about growing your team, that we also have to know we have to tap into our other resources, whether it's our vendors, whether it's, like online, like listening to some of your podcasts, right? I believe could give people value and they can learn things. But I think we have to embrace technology to also help our team to grow. And as owners and managers, we got to give them the resources as well as the time to sharpen their saw and to grow. And I would guess I would also tagline with this, and that is that I believe that right now, everybody is just really stressed to the max.
Yeah.
What we have to do as collision repair professionals is that we need to figure out how to utilize technology to eliminate human disruption and try to give our employees back to our team some more time, right? Like obviously I don't have enough time to do things, right? So how do we give them back more time? What are some of the things maybe we have them do that isn't the best use of their time?
Right. Well, we hear a lot of people talking about using technology and how it's taking away the human component of it. So conversely, as wonderful as it is, we know that there's a negative side to it. So how do you feel like shops can find the balance there?
Yeah, so I absolutely believe that. And I agree with that 100%. I was watching a video the other day and they talked about there's a difference between customer service and the customer experience. I think too often we're focused on the customer service aspect and not the customer experience, right? Where we really want them to be a raving fan so that they will go online and give us a good review or tell their friends and family about us. So I think when we start to embrace technology, right, I think it's always offering the customer or the vehicle owner options, right? Like, what is your preferred method of communication? Is it text, email, or phone call? And I think it's offering them options. Is your preferred method to have me print out a sheet of paper and sign an authorization form? Or is your preferred method to just, do it on a touchless screen? So I think we have to be sensitive that, different people want different options and we have to offer that. But I also think that when I speak about utilizing technology, I don't really think about it so much from the customer service aspect or the customer experience, but I think about it just from the day-to-day operations, right? Like, is there, if I'm researching OEM repair procedures, is there something I can do to allow my estimator to have more time to research that, right? So I think it's more from the technical side because I have a lot of clients I work with, I'm privileged to work with, and sometimes I'll do exit interviews for them if somebody's leaving their company. And I'm finding that the number one reason most people are getting out of our industry is because they say it's so stressful, right?
Yeah.
And so what can we do to kind of, minimize some of that stress? But,
good point.
I'll go back to your question here. Like, let's say, for example, that I'm fixing your car and you tell me your preferred method of communication is texting, right?
Right.
However, if I have bad news to deliver, I think I should still call you, even though text is what you told me.
Right.
The other thing today is that if we see that there's a lot of supply chain issues, one of my teammates, Cheryl Drigger, she shared this awesome quote with me. And that quote is that when there is no communication, negativity fills the void. Where there is no communication or when there's no communication, negativity fills the void. So when we call a customer, we text them, hey, your part's on back order. And then we just think that's all we need to do.
Yeah.
But if that customer starts to get anxious, wondering what's going on. And if we're not communicating to them, they're going to get, negativity and they're going to, be an unhappy customer. So I think that's where we have to actually call them and just put that personal touch to it and say, Miss Woods, I'm just, I texted you the other day, your parts were on back order and there's some supply chain issues, but I'm just calling to let you know that I don't really have anything new to report, that's still the status, right?
Right.
So I do think we have to balance it and complement it with both.
Yeah. And that's such a good point because so many shops do rely on these automated communication styles. And then it's just kind of left and they assume that the person thinks, oh, okay, we're just still on that same path, where in reality, the guest, the consumer, is really left wondering. And that quote, I think, is super applicable. So I don't know who said it, but it's great. And then you also talked about having a digital presence online 24/7, 365 days a year. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah. So what we do is we at Collision Advice, and I work with John Yazwick. And what we do is we do a lot of research, right? And what we've seen, according to a variety or various sources, is that approximately 43% of all vehicle owners today have accidents outside of normal business hours of 8 to 5.
Yeah.
Again, when you think about that, 43% of people have accidents when we're closed. We've got to have the ability for them to engage or connect with us.
Right.
So that's why we have to have that digital presence 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So when you tell people, look, we got to be accessible for people after hours. The first thing that comes to mind is people think, well, does that mean I got to be open 24 hours? No.
Right.
If you have the ability for somebody to schedule an appointment or submit photos for an estimate, Now, I'm not talking about trying to settle a claim by photos.
Yes.
That customer, they just had an accident, it's stressful, and they just want to feel like something's happening, right? And they
Yeah.
just want to submit photos so at least they know something's happened. And then they get like an automatic response that says, hey, your photos were received. Someone will contact you tomorrow at business hours. At least they feel relieved, like, at least I've got the ball rolling. So,
Right.
that was really, when we talk about that digital presence, is I believe that number one is that you have to have a digital presence 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year for people to schedule an appointment or book their own appointment.
Mhm.
And number two is to submit or request an estimate, right?
Mhm.
Because, as I was sharing with the audience today, I got in at 4 o'clock this morning because I hit some traffic. And when I got in, I had gotten a text from CVS Pharmacy saying my prescription was ready. So I went online at 4 o'clock this morning on my phone, on my app, and said, I want you to deliver my prescription to me on Sunday between 3 and 4 when I'm home, right?
Mm.
I was able to do that when it was convenient for me at 3 a.m. in the
Right.
morning. And I think people are so used to being able to do things when it's convenient for them, like 24/7, like order through Amazon or order groceries or schedule a doctor appointment, that people want that same experience with us.
Hey, would you like to increase the number of cars in your drive? Well, look no further. The Mickey Woods marketing team provides collision center specific marketing. We use proven techniques to not only increase your sales, but put money in your pocket. Visit us at collisioncentermarketing.com, or you can find my personal contact information in the show notes. And let's get your 2022 off to a body banging start. And that's kind of one thing that I feel like COVID pushed forward more was for, at least in our industry, is just to be more forward thinking. So many other industries had already adopted a lot of these things.
Yes, ma'am.
I feel like in the collision industry, we were forced out of our comfort zone to start adopting and getting comfortable with some of these. And we realized that the guests really enjoy it. It's convenient for them. And it's not as scary as we maybe thought it was. It's much more doable than maybe we had originally thought. You know?
I think about that with scheduling. Like pre-COVID, if you were to tell people, you got to stagger your drop-offs, right? Like you got to do a drop-off like at 8 and one at 10. They were like, you don't understand. My customers, they all want to show up at 8 on the way to work. And they would argue with you, right?
Yes.
And then COVID hit. And honestly, I think it's one of the blessings of COVID is that because of social distancing, it allowed us to tell that customer, look, we can't have more than one person in our office. So we're going to have
right.
10 or 3. And it can help us to kind of break through that staggering of scheduling drop-offs or estimate appointments. So I think that was actually a good thing that came out of COVID. So I agree with you 100%, ma'am.
Yeah. COVID, I think obviously there's a lot of negatives, but I think for our industry as a whole, it really stretched us where others would have, and some still chose to dug in their heels and have not modified yet. But for the bulk of shops that I've seen, they've really changed a lot of things. And I think for the better, which is great. And then one thing as a marketer that I love that you talked about was voice activated search. Can you touch on that for a quick minute?
So what we know is that 73% of vehicles on the road will be connected bidirectionally by 2023. Matter of fact, I was at a conference with Toyota last week, and they said right now there are I don't want to misquote this, but they said there were approximately 3.5 million Toyotas on the road right now that were connected in the US. They said that will go to 20 million within the next 2 years.
Wow.
I believe that's correct. I don't want to misquote Toyota to get in trouble, but bottom line is we're going to go from 3.5 million to 20 million cars that are connected.
Yeah.
So if more and more cars are connected, you're going to see more and more voice activated searches that are done from the vehicle. And I think that all the statistics, and you actually would probably know better than me, but all the statistics I see and all the data I read is that voice activated searches are growing year over year, right? Like you look at like, hey, Siri or Amazon Alexa, right?
Yeah.
And so what happens is more and more voice activated searches are being done by consumers. It's really important to understand that those searches, the businesses they select or products is usually going to be based off of reviews, right? So what I did is live in the class, I just said, hey, Siri, what's the best auto body shop near Olathe, Kansas, right? And what happened was it came up and gave me one shop name because voice activated, it doesn't, it shows you on my phone, like it'll show me like 4 or 5, right?
Right.
But when I do a voice activated search, I'm not looking at my phone and it only gives me an option.
Yeah.
And what we have found, at least people that I've talked to, like yourself, that are experts who have taught me, is that the way you show up on that is number one is you got to have a business listing, right? But number two is it's based on your reviews. So I learned a term from Tina and Nick from Phoenix Solutions, and they
Oh,
said
yeah.
they shared this term with me that's called social proof. That
Hmm.
today's consumers are looking for social proof that we can be trusted. And so, to summarize, I feel like I'm giving you long answers. I'm sorry that.
No, I love it. It's
Well,
great.
so 73% of all vehicles will be connected on the roads in 2023. That's a year away. As we do that, we're going to see more people are going to use voice activated searches because they're driving down the road. And when they do that, it's just going to be important that you position your business, that your business can be found on those voice activated searches. That would be
Yeah.
the sort of.
That's the summarized version. I agree with you and I love all of it. And I think a big part of what we do in the industry, whether it's you or myself or an estimator in a shop, is just education. We can all be better when we're educating, and we need to help by educating each other. And one of the great things through the online reviews is when we're able to educate our guests and consumers, then they can go review us at a totally different level and leave such a better, more high quality review, because now they just weren't processed. They weren't even just cared for. They were really informed and brought in as part of the process. And that's something that I don't think many did before, but we see more of a shift into that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Ryan Taylor from Body Shop Booster, he has a quote that says, people are more afraid of making a wrong decision than they are of spending money. And I absolutely agree with that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I think about like if I go online to buy something from Amazon, I'm looking and searching by average customer review because I'm
Yes.
making a wrong decision. So like I can actually be like a case study for what he says. But I think that we have to recognize that when somebody has an accident, they're having negative emotions, right? Somebody has an accident, they call your shop or they come to your shop, they're stressed. They're
Yeah.
angry, they're frustrated, they're concerned, they're worried. They may not have the money for the deductible. They might be worried their car will never be the same. Maybe their loved ones in the hospital and got injured, right? So they come
Yeah.
in there with negative emotions. And the first thing we need to do is set them at ease, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think, again, if people are looking for that social proof that you can be trusted, but I also think that's where we have opportunities to, mention and showcase our OEM certifications or how our staff has been
Yeah.
trained. So I
Mm-hmm.
think there's a lot of things there that we need to set the customer's mind at ease when we first interact with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Somebody was asking me the other day what I think the perception from the average everyday Joe Schmo consumer is of the auto collision industry. And my immediate reaction was distrust. But I think in general, it is an emotion of distrust if you're getting your car fixed in any way, or if you have to go have surgery or go to the doctor. There's this general sense of distrust because, like you're saying, you don't want to make the wrong decision. And you know that you don't know what you don't know. And there's a fear there.
Yeah,
So,
I think a lot of consumers, they have anxiety, right? Most people,
absolutely.
and I don't know the recent statistics, but I think they said like, the average person has an accident once every 10 or 11 years.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's a stressful situation, right? Like I think we take it for granted because we're in the business and deal every day. And I think we have to be careful not to get calloused or we're not
Totally.
sensitive to that customer's anxiety. And I think we just got to slow down to gain that customer's trust. One of the things I tell people is like, I think about like a triangle, right? Like most people are just spending like 0 to 5 minutes up here with the customer. But I think we have to put that upside down and spend more time with that customer, gaining their trust and establishing a relationship with them in the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is one way. And then another way to help them feel more comfortable is being able to read online reviews where people are sharing that type of experience, that is what happened. So I think the collision industry as a whole is really shifting and really opening its eyes to be better for the consumer, not just kicking the car out in cycle time and, keys to keys and all the stuff we worry about.
Yeah, I think, there was a saying I read somewhere that said, confidence leads to confidence. Like if we can establish that we're confident in what we're doing, and if we can find ways to do that, like one of the things I like to do is review the owner's manual with the vehicle owner. Because when I'm pointing out things in their owner's manual to them, like, hey, I want to show you here what it says about seatbelts. Here's where it talks about OEM parts. And I'm basically establishing my confidence that, Mrs. Jones, I'm very knowledgeable about your vehicle. And then they're going to have more confidence in me. And I think especially as we move forward in a world where, honestly, that there might be some insurance carriers or third-party payers that aren't willing to pay the complete cost to repair the vehicle. We're seeing that more and more shops are having to charge the vehicle owner the difference.
Right.
And I think it's a lot easier conversation to make a call and say, Miss Woods, you're going to have to pay out of pocket beyond your deductible. It's a lot easier to have that conversation if I've laid the groundwork and built that relationship with you in the beginning during the drop off.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. 100%. I agree. Well, I know you've got other things to go do. And today's just a short little version of what I'd love to have Mike come back on. Hopefully we'll have him on. We can do a full podcast because I'm sure there's a lot of, well, I already know, Mike, you're just full of amazing information. So grateful to have you in our industry. You're such a support to so many of us out there. And I personally appreciate you. And I know that you have a heart to help and everybody feels it. Everybody knows it. And I really thank you so much for all that you do.
Well, I appreciate you, ma'am. And congratulations on your podcast. I'm actually a follower of yours and a raving fan. So if you're watching this, make sure that you're following Mickey Woods on her podcast. Mike Anderson says you need to do it. Don't do it today.
That's right.
I appreciate you. And thank you for doing your podcast and allowing us to hear the voice of different perspectives in our industry. So
yeah,
thank you for your kind words, but I'm grateful for you, ma'am.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks, Mike. And thank you everybody for tuning in. I know that you took so many great things away from today and I will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed today's show, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We have some incredible topics and guests coming your way you will not want to miss. If you are watching on YouTube and don't want to miss the latest and greatest, you'll want to hit the bell after subscribing, so you will get a pop-up each time a video podcast goes live. To our devoted fans, would you mind paying it forward and sharing this little gem with someone else you think may benefit from it? Much love from all of us here at Body Bangin', all things auto body.